Hi, it's Michelle, another lesson. So this lesson is going to be broken down into twos because next week I'll talk about something else. So today we're going to talk just specifically about addiction. And then next week we're going to talk about the nicotine and addiction because nicotine is still the #1 addicting drug. Not sure if you knew that. So before we begin, though, I want to share this with you. This analogy was just perfect for today, for addiction. So as you can see, it's not about nicotine, but it's a drug. We'll just say like opioid, and he's chained to it. So this is a good analogy of what addiction feels like. Don't forget, I'll put all these on our Facebook page also. So there's two types of addiction. There's physical dependence, and then there's psychological dependence. You can say psychological or behavior dependence are the same thing. So psychological dependence or physical dependence. So physical dependence, this is when this is the tolerance begins, the tolerance of the drug. The body becomes chemically dependent on that drug. Okay, so I found this one and I really, really like it. Let me turn that so I don't get this all mixed up. So this one is the physical dependence. And real quick, the stages. The physical dependence, the substance can cause a rewiring in your brain. Okay, addiction changes the brain. So physically, it changes the brain. Psychologically, it changes the brain. So the substance can cause a rewiring in your brain, resulting in your body being physically dependent on that substance. Okay, that's what that tolerance is about. So step 1, there's 5 steps in this one. Continual use of an addictive substance begins. Then step 2, tolerance develops, And then step 3, higher volume of substances used. That's because they keep on they get a tolerance to it, so they need more of it. Step 4, a physical alteration of the brain occurs. Step 5, addiction continues. Okay, I just thought that was really good. So then I have the psychological dependence that's broken down. So psychological, or like I said, behavior dependence. Okay, it affects the person's behavior because they become dependent on that drug. All right, so that is that one. So it becomes drug addiction becomes the drug addiction disrupts a person's normal priorities of needs and desires and replaces them with new priorities to obtain and use the drug. So they want it more, okay? So this one here this is the steps for the psychological dependence. This is like when the cravings begin, okay? Craving for the drug. So behavior is reinforced by the consequences. Over time, this becomes, I think it's down here, this becomes the biggest reason users report they continue to use the drug. So because of the changes, anxiety, depression, mood swings, okay, irritability all occur. Okay, so step 1. Step 1 is there's only 4 steps, but it's the same as the physical dependence. So continual use of an addictive substance begins. Step 2, the abuse of that substance becomes a habit. So this is when it becomes the habitual. Step 3, cravings from the drug trigger the habit. Okay, step 4, addiction continues. Like I said, I'll put all those on the Facebook page. Okay, so here's to describe that even more that I found I really like. This is, if you've ever heard vicious cycle, so it's going to repeat itself. So I found this and I thought this is pretty good. So the vicious cycle, so emotional pain, we'll start up here and then go around, even though it's always occurring. It's a cycle. Okay, unless you change your behavior and your thinking pattern, it'll always still occur. All right, so emotional pain, and then you have craving for relief. So now you're craving for that emotional relief. 3 is preoccupied with substance or behavior. So now that's all you're thinking about. You're preoccupied with the substance. Step 4, substance use or compulsive behavior occurs. Then short-term pain relief, that's that numbness that people will always say, well, it takes away that pain. I feel numb. I don't feel anything. Negative consequences. Then, so it's resulting from the behavior, the physical, the body, and the psychological, the brain. Then it's more pain, and now you have even lower self-esteem. Then depression, guilt, shame. Okay, then it's back to the emotional pain again. So unless you get help, that's what happens. All right, so now real quick, this is in the workbook. So this is what I'm gonna do. So there's 4 stages. Okay. Stage 1. Stage 1 is the experimental stage. This is sorry. This is during the experimental stage. A person tries a drug for the first time. The first use is typically in a social setting, like a party, where the drug is available. The user tries the drug on impulse without considering the potential negative effects of consequences. Okay, so, and then I put, it only takes one. My students know I say that all the time. It only takes one to get addicted, especially to cigarettes. Okay, or nicotine, not cigarettes. Nicotine, because vaping's up there too. Stage 2, this is regular use. So during regular use stage, drug use becomes a part of everyday life. At this stage, the user develops a tolerance to the drug. The regular user begins to spend more time with friends who use the drug and spend less time with friends who don't use the drug. So I even put that, I underline that. And then I put the drug becomes the habit, okay? And none of these stages just don't occur overnight, okay? But this is it's broken down for you of how the stages, how the stages work. Okay, problem use. At this stage, the user makes plans to obtain the drug. Normal behavior changes. So now this is the normal thinking pattern is changed also. Most activities are organized around the next opportunity to use the drug. Getting and using the drug is more important than all other interests, including relationships. Okay, and I underline that too, because now this is when they leave their old friends and go with their new friends because they're using the drug. So because you're not thinking normally when you're using the drug. Okay, this is the last stage. So drug addiction and dependency. At this stage, the addiction and cravings are intense. The user will be uncomfortable or agitated if forced to go even a brief time without the substance. By now, the user cannot face daily life without using the drug. The drug is the first thing the user thinks of in the morning and the last thing they think of before falling asleep. The user may deny there is any problem. So I underline the drug is the first thing the user thinks about. Okay, so that's all they're thinking about. How can I get it? Okay, when can I use it? Okay, that's how they're thinking. They're always thinking that. Okay, so now you know that there are two different types of addictions, psychologically and physically. And you know that there are 4 stages. And now next week, we're going to put those 4 stages into practice with the nicotine addiction. Okay? So you guys have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.